SOMNIPHOBIA.
Throughout the history of violent crime, some cases are remembered less for who committed them than for how the scene itself was arranged, left behind like a message meant to be read. In this episode, we turn to a double murder committed in the autumn of 1922 outside a quiet New Jersey city. Later known as the Hall Mills murder, among the details investigators took years to even record, the choir soprano found beside him had not only been shot, but her throat had been cut, and her voice, quite literally, taken from her. On the morning of September 16, 1922, a 15-year-old girl and a 23-year-old young man were walking a familiar lane in New Jersey. Neither of them yet knew what they were about to find beneath a crabapple tree in an abandoned field. The story we follow this week turns on appearances kept carefully in place until something breaks them apart for good. That moment was only steps away. Beneath the crabapple tree in a field beside the old Phillips farm, they found two bodies laid out on their backs, side by side, feet pointed toward the trunk of the tree. Pearl Bahmer and Raymond Schneider ran back down the lane to a nearby house and telephoned the police at once. Help was already too late. What unsettled the first officers on the scene was not only that a man and a woman had been killed, but that the ground around them had been arranged deliberately as though for an audience. A Panama hat had been placed over the man's face, an engraved calling card propped upright against the sole of his shoe, and between the two bodies, torn love letters scattered across the grass. The man was identified as the Reverend Edward Wheeler Hall, 41, rector of the Episcopal Church of St. John the Evangelist in New Brunswick. He had married Frances Stevens, an heiress 7 years his senior, back in 1911. The woman was Eleanor Reinhardt Mills, 34, a soprano in his church choir, and the wife of the church sexton, James Mills, a voice the congregation knew well. Her brown silk scarf, the same one she wore singing in the choir loft on Sundays, was wound around her throat. The torn letters made plain a passionate affair, written in Eleanor's own hand. "I know there are girls with more shapely bodies," one read, "but I have the greatest part of all blessings, a noble man's deep, true, eternal love." She called him Babykins. Both had left home on the evening of Thursday, September 14th, and neither ever returned home again. By the time Pearl Bahmer and Raymond Schneider found them, they had lain beneath the crabapple tree for roughly 2 days. The autopsy findings were precise. Both had been shot with a .32 caliber pistol, and Hall had died from a single bullet fired above his right ear. Eleanor Mills had been shot 3 times in the head, and there was a detail so deliberate it reads, even now, like a message. Her throat had been slashed from ear to ear, and her larynx and tongue had been cut out and taken away. Insects already present in the wounds told the medical examiner that the pair had been dead for at least a full day before they were found. The mutilation of Eleanor Mills's throat, chillingly, was recorded so poorly in 1922 that it would not enter the official case file for another 4 years. The investigation collapsed from the outset. The bodies lay across a county line, and Somerset and Middlesex authorities argued over jurisdiction while the trail went cold. And no one thought, in all of it, to actually secure the scene. For days afterward, thousands of curious sightseers tramped freely through the open, unguarded field where the bodies had once lain. Evidence became souvenir. They snapped branches off the crabapple tree for souvenirs, and passed the calling card and the love letters from hand to hand, bare-fingered, before anyone thought to stop them. A Somerset County grand jury convened in November of 1922, but it returned no indictments, and the case went cold. For 4 years, the file sat closed, and no one connected to either family was ever formally accused of anything. It would take a scandal that had nothing at all to do with the murders to force the case back open. Not yet, though. The case was resurrected not by police work, but by a newspaper. In July of 1926, William Randolph Hearst's New York Daily Mirror ran with the headline, "Hall Mills Murder Mystery Bared." The story broke after a former Hall family maid's husband, Arthur Reel, filed an annulment suit claiming his wife had been paid $5,000 to keep silent about the night of the murders. Public pressure, fed relentlessly by tabloid headlines, mounted quickly enough that the governor of New Jersey ordered the case reopened. 4 years of silence ended abruptly. Frances Hall, along with her brothers Henry and Willie Stevens and their cousin Henry Carpenter, were all placed under arrest. Prosecutors theorized that a jealous wife and her family had followed the two lovers to the field and executed them there. The state's entire case rested on 2 separate pillars, and the first of these was a matter of purely physical evidence. Fingerprint experts testified that a print lifted from Hall's engraved calling card, the same card propped against his shoe in the field, matched Willie Stevens. Or so prosecutors claimed. The second pillar of the state's case was a witness, Jane Gibson, a hog farmer who lived along the lane, known to the press by then only as the Pig Woman. Gibson claimed that on the night of the murders, she had ridden her mule into DeRussey's lane and seen 4 figures struggling together by flashlight. She said she heard a woman scream, "Don't, don't, don't," shout the name Henry, and then heard gunfire. No one but Jane Gibson claimed to have witnessed the killings directly. Her account, still untested by any court, would have to survive a trial before anyone could call it evidence at all. The trial that followed took place in Somerville, covered by some 300 reporters from across the country. The courtroom took on the atmosphere of a circus. Dying of cancer, Jane Gibson was carried into the courtroom on a hospital bed to testify. One uncorroborated witness, but her account had shifted with each retelling, and from the gallery, her own mother was reported to have muttered, "She's a liar. She's a liar." The defense countered with witnesses who swore that Henry Stevens had been miles away on a fishing trip at the time of the killings. Frances Hall sat through the proceedings veiled and entirely composed, never once raising her voice. The press gave her a name that would outlast the trial itself: the Iron Widow. On December 3, 1926, the jury returned its verdict: not guilty on all counts for all 3 defendants. No one was ever convicted of the murders of Edward Hall and Eleanor Mills. No answer came. What this case asks of us in the end is not that we name a killer whose identity was never established. It asks only that we notice how carefully those 2 bodies were arranged beneath that tree, and how completely, a century on, that arrangement has never once been explained. That's where the record ends. For now, subscribe